Can you think of an example of a question you do find meaningful that we don't have proof one way or the other?
Uh, I don't know.
Yeah, and I saw a couple cameras, and I was like, this is something that would be interesting.
Cool. I'll
course.
just put this on here.
Gotcha.
Thanks for that.
It's a light lav mic. I'm surprised on how light it is for the size. I used to use Rode for my music stuff when I was back as a musician, but
What instrument do you play? Or
percussion.
instruments? Percussion?
Auxiliary percussion, orchestral percussion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a fun story. But
I used to do a lot more of that myself.
yeah, it's fun. It's just time,
Yeah.
time consuming.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back pretty quick.
Yeah.
But, so you like playing with other people,
Oh yeah.
mainly?
Huge into symphonic groups specifically, but anything, just community. It's fun.
Okay.
But yeah,
Cool. What's your name?
I'm Sam.
Sam?
Yep.
Okay. My name's David.
Nice to meet you, David.
I usually take out the last names unless you want to promote yourself in some way.
There's nothing I need to promote. You're all good. My name's Sam.
Sam.
Yep.
Okay. Good to meet you, Sam. Okay.
Pleasure.
So just kind of explain what we're doing. So I'll have you choose a conclusion that you're confident is true.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll basically ask you questions from a neutral perspective that help us explore how you arrived at your conclusion, what supports your confidence that it's true, and why you're convinced that the main reason that supports your confidence is a good enough reason to support that much confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Does the conclusion have to have a specific theme, or is
No, it
just-
can be anything you want. Ideally, it's something that's important to you, something meaningful to you. The more meaningful the topic is to you, the more meaningful the conversation will likely be.
Okay. Interesting.
So, like some people have said, ghosts are real, karma's real.
Yeah.
Something that you're convinced is accurate about our shared world. So not like a preference.
Okay.
Something that you think is true for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, that I think I can confidently say that the fight to prove or disprove the existence of a god is a meaningless fight in its own right.
Okay. The God question is meaningless?
The God question, I guess to argue that there is a God is I guess so. Yeah, that would be a good
Just to
good
kinda
simple-
simplify it?
Yeah, the God question is meaningless to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you like me to elaborate further on that right now?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So there is no proof or disproof in the idea that there is or will be a celestial being that has created us, the universe, everything. And to say that there is proof is to deny the idea of theory in a way, because with theory, in a book written by Stephen Hawking, which is obviously a known atheist, was there are two specific traits a scientific theory needs to be considered true. or it can be considered even a theory. It is that it needs to have a backing based on scientific background, or evidence, whatever you want to call it, that it has no underlying major flaws that contradict the theory itself. In the fight, or in the pursuit of proving that there is or is not a God, there is no hard, solid evidence, nor is there anything that prevents flaws in the logic of whatever God. I'm not talking the Christian God. I'm talking any theology.
Any God.
Any theology.
Okay.
We're talking, like, I guess because we do live in the United States, we can centralize in the idea of Christian faith because that is the majority of the population. The fight of the Christian God. Well, the Bible says this. The Bible in itself is a historical text because it does depict historical events. However, similar to the Iliad, we don't believe that Athena came down and assisted in the Battle of Troy. That is an act of fiction to, the modern civilization. But same thing with the Bible, where some things could be considered fiction in, 2,000 years. So to me, that fight to prove or disprove the God is meaningless. Just in a small example.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Why do you suppose it's meaningful to others?
Purpose and fellowship, community. I can definitely understand where people come from in the idea that the fight to prove or disprove God is meaningful to them because they had an event in their life, such as maybe a passing of a relative or what people will call a miracle. That can happen, and people could have a very serious emotional attachment to said miracle or said passing, and they can see that as a way of that ethereal or celestial being calling to them and saying, this is your purpose in life. And if that's your purpose, wonderful, but that's
okay.
just, based
Community,
on opinion.
fellowship, purpose. Why are those insufficient reasons to consider the question of God being meaningful?
Well, because looking at it from the lens of looking at it in your own personal life, that is your experiences, your life, to tell other people that God is real based on your events is a very, very small lens in the eyes of society. Because the person you and I have lived very different lives. And I have very different experiences than you may have, and they may have overlap, but that doesn't mean that they're the same. And our perceptions are very different. We can live the same life and we'd still have different perceptions because of the way we are as people. So saying that what you have experienced is the truth to everybody else in its own way is an indifference. And it's not, I don't really know the word. You might be able to help me out here. It's not selfish. It's more just a closed-minded
Okay.
mentality when it comes to looking at everything else. And there are some people who do argue with other people's experiences, but that's a pick and choose. You pick and choose what experiences you want to delve into. You can look at that, or you can look at the people who have been saved by whatever God you may argue for, or you can choose the addict who doesn't believe in a God.
So if I can offer some clarity here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess I'm not asking why those reasons are bad reasons to believe in the God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking why those reasons are not sufficient to consider the question.
Okay.
Do you understand the difference in what I'm asking about?
Sort of, yeah. So
Okay.
when you're considering the question, is there a God or is there not a God, there is no hard, solid evidence at the end of the day. Like we were talking earlier, there is no solid evidence. Therefore, I work very logically. My person, this is a personal thing, and I know a lot of other people do as well. That there has to be some form of an evidence. If you in law, you see a legal situation, there is proof. Therefore, guilty, not guilty. In science, there is proof. Therefore, theory or fact. And the question of is there a God, I believe it's not really necessary to consider because there is no proof, there is no fact, and does that kind of clarify things a
Yeah.
little better? Yeah.
It, let's say, or I guess my question would be, is not having any proof one way or the other.
Not
Um, I guess, are there questions that you find meaningful in which we have no proof one way or the other?
questions that are meaningful in which we don't have proof. That's a hard question to answer. Okay. What do you mean by that? You mean like is there any other questions under the same category that could be considered meaningful or
Can you think of an example of a question you do find meaningful that we don't have proof one way or the other?
uh hmm I don't know because I'm like the first thing that my mind went to was the theory of the universe, the theory of different celestial bodies in the universe. The I mean, even black holes were a theory for a while, and there was no proof behind them for a good while until the theory of relativity by Albert Einstein came along in the 20s and the 30s. So, in modern, I don't think so. No, not to answer that. I guess not. No,
Okay.
but
So it sounds like, as far as you know,
Mhm.
all questions that have no proof one way or the other are meaningless.
yeah, I guess that's a good way to summarize it. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Do you have any examples off the top of your head that you're thinking of? Because I'm trying to think now.
Maybe questions about consciousness?
That
That
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Do you think questions about consciousness are meaningful?
Questions about consciousness. No, that's hard because consciousness can dive into neurology, and neurology can dive into the idea of psychology. So I guess it depends on the question
Yeah.
because some questions can be phrased more towards the idea of philosophy, while others can be more towards science or medicine.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, definitely circumstantial, but I
So
can
if
see
it's
it.
like a question regarding consciousness that we could test or not test, that would.
That would probably be the determining factor. Yeah,
Okay.
is testing.
Okay. Um, what would give meaning to you about the God question?
Any form of solid evidence to prove or disprove. Sorry, my mother just called. One way or another, whether or not a god has given genuine influence to the surrounding or to our surroundings.
What would that evidence look like?
I don't even know. Um, I guess direct divine intervention, probably.
Okay.
Um, because I mean, you can say we found Noah's Ark. The pilgrimage to Mecca. They go to Mecca for a reason because Allah had called them to go there. Those are examples of. Uh, those are examples that people use in modern day today, but that isn't really concrete, hard evidence. There is no proof that says God had called to make that. So I think the only proof that would probably be direct divine intervention. Yeah, probably.
Okay. So if you were convinced that you experienced direct divine intervention to your own satisfaction, that would cause you to think that the God question is therefore meaningful?
Yeah, more meaningful. I would, knowing how I am, I would probably look a little deeper into it. I would probably go into some psychological studies for myself. I would probably go into, because I guess I should preface that I am a devout Christian, but that's because I grew up in a Christian household. I do believe in a God, but I do not know that there is one. It's really weird, but
Okay.
I
Hmm.
do believe in one, but I do not I do not have 100% belief that there is one.
Okay.
It's more of just kind of a faith-based thing. So if I were to have direct divine intervention, let's just say that that's the example, I would definitely have to do a lot of neurological studies on myself to prove or disprove that myself. And if there is no proof, then I don't really have a way to prove that. And it would be meaningful to me, but I don't think it would be meaningful to everybody else.
Okay.
Therefore,
It sounds like you're open to this question becoming meaningful
yeah,
if you had enough reason to think so.
absolutely.
Okay.
I wish that there was more, but I'm confident to say that it isn't yet.
Okay. I've got one more question to maybe wrap it up with.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a weird question.
Sure.
If this question is meaningless, why are we talking about it?
Humans are weird creatures, very odd creatures.
Why
why
did
are
you
we?
choose to talk about it?
I don't know. It was a lot. There's been a lot of debate recently on social media that I've been seeing, at least on my feed, that prove or disprove a God. And I have been going down a rabbit hole recently about it because, again, like I said before, I am devout Christian and I do believe in a God, but I never really considered the question. And when you ask me, confidently, can I say this? I can say confidently that there is no concrete evidence XYZ, but it's a question that's been kind of around my feed recently, so it kind of came to mind just on a whim, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Cool. Well, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. What is this like a study?
It's a hobby.
Cool.
It's a way to possibly or potentially raise the level of critical thinking in different communities.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I do it.
Wonderful. This is an awesome hobby, man. Keep this up. This is really cool.
Cool. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. I don't know if what I, said or did was helpful or not. But
Absolutely. Yeah. Was it helpful to you? Did you feel like you were able to reflect on some of the quality of your reasons?
Absolutely, yeah. You raised a couple questions that I didn't really think of off the top of my head, and you asked me, if this were to happen to me, what would I go about? What would that bring more meaningfulness to the actual question itself? And I never really thought about that because I never had it happen. So
Cool.
Appreciate you, man.
That was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really coming down. Do you have something in mind?
Oh, you dropped your.
Oh, did I? Oh my goodness. Yes,
Don't lose those, and don't forget to call Mom back. Okay.
You were right. Sorry, I texted her. I called her and I was like, "Hey, you don't need it. I'm just checking in on you." Thank you.
Cool. See you around.